Welcome back to Open Line. We're talking about Cyntoia Brown, the Cyntoia Brown case. She was, of course, granted clemency just recently by Governor Haslam. We have with us Senator Brenda Gilmore and Derri Smith with End Slavery Tennessee. You wanted to say one thing before I take calls about the laws.
Yes, I will say that we've had significant law changes around this issue in the state of Tennessee, thankfully. One important one that happened amazingly just a few years ago was the decriminalization of, you know, if a minor is prostituting, we no longer criminalize them. We recognize them as victims, and that's huge. We've been rated #1 in the nation for 2 years in a row now for the strength of our laws, so we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Let's go to Mike. Hello, Mike.
Yes, thank you for discussing this very important topic. What we see is a rising number of teenage crimes that are vicious. Some of them involve murder, some of them involve armed robbery, some of them involve destruction of public property. And the age of the teenager that commits these crimes seems to be getting lower and lower in our society. So where do we stop? When do we finally decide, if a jury of our peers finds that a first-degree murder case, where defined by first-degree murder, premeditated killing, nobody said this young lady couldn't call the police and ask for help. Nobody said that this young lady didn't have other options. So what we have here is, if this would have been, let's say, a Muslim young lady who killed this man, and she didn't have the advocates that came forward and made her look innocent as a victim, when in fact she was the perpetrator of the crime, what message are we sending to these young people who are turning to outrageous, violent acts in society? And we turn around and say, oh, they didn't mean to do it. They were young. It's okay. Let's do not prosecute these people. We are heading down a slippery slope. The statement was made, cultural mind slip or shift. We are looking at a cultural shift where we are making excuses for people who have murdered in cold blood, first-degree murder, and we say, oh, that's okay.
All right, let's talk about that.
Stop.
When
do we stop?
When do we stop? Obviously, it was controversial. There were people with strong feelings on both sides. Mike, obviously, I'm going to say he disagrees with this opinion and says, when does it stop? That we're making excuses for young people, and well, you heard what he said.
Yes,
what do you both say?
Well, I would have to agree with Mike in saying that sometimes I think crimes by young people are spiraling out of control. This case is so unique, though. I think it's unique because we have a child who's being forced into criminal activity by an adult. And I don't think anybody has said that this is not a horrific crime, that we wish that this had not happened. But the fact that it happened, I do think that we have to take in consideration that as adults, we have some responsibility as well. I don't care how you fix it up. This adult man should not have been in bed with a 16-year-old. And I really regret that the end result was he ended up dead. I really regret that. And my heart and my prayers go out to the family, to the Allen family. But I think that as an adult, we do have to take some responsibility for young people. And when adults force young people into criminal activities, then sometimes things like this happen.
And so, yeah, what's your point of view on what he said?
Well, Senator stated that very well. I would just say nobody, absolutely nobody, is making excuses or saying that Cyntoia was innocent, least of all Cyntoia herself. She lives with great grief every day, knowing that she murdered somebody and that she can't undo that. So no excuses at all. But she has served a reasonable sentence of 15 years, which is an average sentence for second-degree murder. And she has totally shown that she's rehabilitated her life. So it's time for a second chance. I think today a jury of peers would not reach the same conclusion. They would recognize the victimization and exploitation and look for ways to give her a chance.
And he said if it had been someone else without all of the star power and that kind of thing, they wouldn't have gotten out. There was undeniably a lot of star power, a lot of very important people, you know, latched onto this case. What do you think caused that? Why were so many people drawn to this case, Hollywood stars and others?
Well, again, I think all the stars lined up for Cyntoia. The fact that she came from the background that she came from. I'm not sure she was taught right from wrong. The fact that she was so young that she couldn't discern what was good and what's bad. I don't know what was going through her mind emotionally. She said she feared for her life, so I have to accept that. And she has spent almost 15 years in prison. I mean, again, she's done what we want prisoners to do. We want them to recreate themselves so they can come out and be productive citizens. I think all those factors have to be taken into consideration.
How did it, well, and I'll ask you even more. You've talked to her in prison. What about her case do you think, attract some of the big attention that it got?
Well, I think there are a couple of answers to that. One, there was an amazing documentarian who started filming at the time she was 16 and did a tremendous job portraying her story and some of the horrific circumstances of her life. And I think that evokes sympathy to begin with, and he's continuing that work. He's going to have a sequel or continue that after her release. But also, she has had an amazing team around her. She's had first-rate attorneys who have given countless pro bono hours. She's had people at Lipscomb University surrounding her with opportunities for a degree. She's had a strong advocate in the juvenile court system. And because of that, and the fact that she is just plain the smartest young woman I think I've ever met, articulate, grateful, using her time well, all of those things came together to catch the attention of the public. I also think that the public now is more educated about these issues than we were back 15 years ago.
There was a documentary. It was about young children sentenced to life. Is that what it was about? Or young people in jail or prison?
It was specifically about Cyntoia.
It was just about her?
Yes.
Okay, very interesting. All right, let's go to Bill. Hello, Bill?
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to say that I confer with Mike and Anna Whaley, Johnny Allen's friend. I think that, you know, if you want to commute Cyntoia's sentence, that's fine. She spent a lot of time in prison, and you know, that's good if she can save her life by going to school and get out of prison. But the crime that I see going on now is Johnny Allen is being demeaned and being made out to be the bad guy when evidence shows that he was just a good Samaritan, gave her a place to sleep, a safe place to lay down. In fact, this same thing happened to a friend of mine, only the woman involved was actually of age. But she later told some folks that she had gone to his house and it had intended to stab him and rob him in his sleep, and he was able to avoid it by his friends alerting him. So, you know, all is good as far as Mr. Haslam commuting the sentence. I'm fine with that, but I'm not fine with Johnny Allen being degraded when evidence shows he was laying on his side with his hands clasped, and she slipped from the living room sofa up to his room, and the fact that she shot him in the back of the head is proof enough that she came there to rob him. So, you know, let's quit running Johnny Allen down. I mean, he was an upright, church-going man, a Nashvilleian. He was successful. He was a real estate agent. The fact that he was in whatever part of town, Dickerson Road or wherever, at a Sonic getting a sandwich, he was dealing real estate. A real estate agent goes all over the city. I mean, you can't fault the man for where he was doing business. So, you know, lift Cyntoia up, but stop walking on Johnny Allen's grave. It's a crime and a disgrace and a shame. You know, Johnny Allen was a good man.
Thank you for your call.
I would say that's fair enough. Enough said.
Right.
We shouldn't degrade anybody.
I think I would just say that in our culture, we seem to have this feeling that we are supposed to have an opinion on everything, whether we have a lot of information or not. And so there is a lot of misinformation flying around, strong opinions formed on very little information, and it's not our place right now to decide about Johnny Allen. And I think everybody is sorry that a murder occurred. So, sympathies.
I appreciate the call. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Lucy. Are you there, Lucy?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Lucy. What's on your mind?
Well, I want to comment on some history here in Tennessee in regards to children and crime, and also make a personal comment that I had a friend. She was younger than me, and it's coming up on 50 years now, where she was a child prostitute down on Lower Broad. And I'm not trying to dismiss what the man just said about his friend, Mr. Allen, with what I'm getting ready to say. But she had a co-partner. They were prostitute downtown, and he was a male. And a lot of the guys that picked him up, he knew they were church-going men. So you really never know. And I'm not saying Mr. Allen was a bad person, but you really never know. These kids were intentionally got them hooked on heroin to sell them down on Lower Broad. When I was told about it, I could not believe it. I had to go down Lower Broad and see for myself. But she was a throwaway. She's been on my mind a whole lot the past year and a half, and I've gone back and done some research on her. She told me stuff as an adult at a funeral home one time, and I wanted to understand why. And she made it through her heroin, had some children, fell back, and they found her dead in a motel here about 10 years ago. So I still think about why our friends, when she was going to be put in a pauper's grave, put her down when they were born on third base. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I want to comment. We had a governor here about 100 years ago or so. He spent the night in the Tennessee State Prison. He spent more than a night. He wanted to see what prison life was like. He was in there with little boys that were mixed in with grown men, so you can imagine what he saw and what he heard. He changed that. Tennessee has changed that. And there was a case here about 65 years ago where a young black kid, 12 years old, raped a white girl younger than him, so you can imagine. And he was 12 years old, and they tried him as an adult. And they gave him 35 years. When he turned 18, he would have gone over to the main prison. But they had calls from all over the world. Now, you see what I'm saying? A black on white, a racial crime like that back in the day, and people were just appalled by that. They reduced that boy's sentence to 10 years. I've often tried to find out what happened to him, what his life turned out around. Was he judged? Did he move away? Was he murdered? What happened? But all I can say about this this Brown girl, that I think she has owned up to her mistake. I wasn't there. We'll have to take her word as how it went down because she's alive. But I hope that she gives back. And I just wish people will understand that people use people every day, and they cruise the streets for these kids because people throw away kids every day.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you.
Right.
She said a lot there. One of the things she said, she hopes Cyntoia gives back. And you both know her. Certainly you've met her. What Lucy wants her to give back. What do you think the future holds?
She's already giving back. While she's in prison, she's mentoring troubled youth through the juvenile court system. As I said, she's developed plans for a nonprofit to help young people like herself. It motivates her getting her degree. She fully intends to give back and use her experiences to help other people.
All right, we're gonna take a break. If you're on the line, hold on. If you want to call in, their line's open. That's the number 615-737+, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.
And I think